Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Wells, and I write horror, science fiction, and fantasy, and I talk about games on the internet. Today is Robert E. Howard's birthday. He is the creator of Conan the Barbarian, and I was actually on my schedule was going to talk about Warhammer today, but then realized it was Robert E. Howard's birthday, and because of that, Modifius, the publisher of the role-playing game, is actually running a special discount where you can go to their website, and they've got a ton of books in this line, and you can get 25% off anything you order today if you enter the code REH. So happy birthday, Robert E. Howard, and anyone who wants to get some of these books, you can. But why would you want to get some of these books? Let me tell you about this game that I think is really neat. Okay, it is really good, and I enjoy it a lot. It's part of the Modifius system. Actually, before we get into the system, let's talk about Conan and let's talk about Robert E. Howard because like most people who live in the past, Robert E. Howard was pretty problematic by today's standards. Fairly misogynist in his stories, inarguably racist in a lot of the stories and world building. And so, if you have a personal objection to Conan or to Robert E. Howard, I'm not going to fault you for that. Okay? One thing that I will say, though, is that Modifius and the people who've worked on this game have actually gone out of their way to correct as many of those issues as they can. And the game is structured to be as welcoming, as inclusive as possible. And so, hooray for that. So, here's the people, system design. That's the basic Modifius system. The specific writers for this were all of these people, and I really do think that they have done a very good job of putting this together. And so I think that it's worth giving a look. The art. Let's talk about the art as well. This cover image is Brahm, and is just gorgeous. The book is incredible. I've got the physical one right here. I don't have physical books of everything. Let's give you a better look at that. Nope, there we go. So this is the physical book. Very thick, nice hardback. It's got the little kind of ribbon bookmark in it, and just it's a fantastically well done thing. One thing that I like about it a lot is the way that it is able to imitate the flow of Conan fiction. If you've read some or a lot of the Conan stories, they're written out of order. They're presented kind of without context. And so while if you do read them and you can go online and find 100 different chronologies of what order the stories actually take place in, regardless of when they were written. And you can track the progress of Conan's life as he goes from, the poor little nobody to the actual king of Aquilonia and all these other things. But the stories are unconcerned with that chronology. And I think the best way to read them is just in the order they were written. And the experience you get when you do that is that you come into each story completely blind and you don't know what's going on. And it will talk about how Conan will start telling a story about when he used to be a pirate and he was on a ship, and then almost immediately the ship will sink and he'll be stranded on an island, or he'll be picked up by some rival pirates or somebody else and launched into a completely different story. And the RPG is designed to kind of imitate that structure, where you are flowing from highs to lows. And in one adventure, you will be rich and powerful. You might be in charge of an army. And then in the next adventure, you'll be a mercenary out in the desert, just scrambling for every coin you can get. And the part of the way that flow works as well as it does is they've got a downtime system. It's called carousing. In fact, let's take a look at it. It's not as extensive as, say, the Downtime system in the One Ring or in Pendragon, but they do have stuff to do in between adventures, and I think that's actually what they call it, is just life between adventures. If I can find the... Here we go. There's the carousing section. Life between adventures. Okay, and so there's a lot of things to do in here. There is an upkeep system. If you are a merchant or a trader and you want to try to hang together and kind of keep that status quo up as long as you can, in spite of what I just said, then there's an upkeep system where you will end up paying a certain amount of gold to maintain your status. And if you can't manage to keep that status up, then during the next adventure, your social roles like society and persuade and things like that will all be more difficult because everyone knows that you have lost all your money or that you've had to call in a bunch of favors in order to keep your house, things like that. Other things you can do while carousing is you can meet and talk to patrons, which is very important if you want to get into sorcery, but just anybody at all. If you want to talk to the powerful people, the kings and the rulers of the age, the generals, then you can talk to them. You can go trading, you can go gambling. It's got rumors here, and then it's got this really fun carousing events system. Modiphius uses a 2d20, so this is a 2d20 table that runs from 2 to 40. And at the end of every carousing section, every player needs to roll, and I'll just do it right now and we'll see what we get. 13 plus 14, that's a 27. So, previous page, right here. There's a fire in town which causes significant damage. What caused it? Did the player character help or hinder the town putting the blaze out? Little things like this. Some of these can give you direct, like number 40 is you get an object, a powerful object that everybody wants. Number 27, like we saw, is just there's a fire. How do you react to it? And these are designed not so much to give you things or to improve your character. It's not part of the leveling up system. The entire carousing in-between adventure system is just designed to help you tell stories. And so how does your character react to this fire? And how is that going to change how people react to you in the future? If you saved somebody important from the fire, and you don't have to make rolls and you don't have to play this out, you can just say, oh, well, my character helped. And I went into a burning building and I pulled somebody out and he turned out to be a really important merchant, and now I've got a friend who's going to help me out sometime. Or you could alternately say, you know, I ran away, and then it turned out that this whole building burned down, and I feel really guilty about that, and I'm kind of haunted by it. And so during the next adventure, I'm going to feel really bad. And so this carousing system in between events and the ability to tell stories it expands the scope of your characters, and it works, like I said, to kind of mimic the flow of Conan, where your fortunes can change on a whim, and who you are and what you're doing can change over time. You can modify your character's personality and your character's place in the world, which is great. Now I keep saying Modiphius system. I've reviewed several Modiphius games before, but let's have a look at the character sheet. And this is an ominous, imposing looking character sheet. Let's give you a better view of that. And don't worry, because they've got this version of it, which is a little easier. There we go. A little easier to see and understand. And if you really want just a simpler one without all the fancy schmancy stuff, they've got this character sheet as well. And is that displaying properly? It is. Good. So the Modiphius system is called 2d20. Everything is done with two 20-sided dice. And there are currencies in the game that can modify things. One is called momentum, which players can earn when they succeed really well on something or through various other talents that they have. And momentum they can spend to add extra dice to a check. or they can do other fun things with it. And there is an evil version of momentum called Doom. That's the other main currency. And Doom is something that the game master can use, just like momentum, to modify the monster rolls, or to add more monsters to a battle, or to do other things and create other complications like that. The rolls that you make are you're trying to get to hit a target number, but it's different than most other systems. It's not roll and see if you roll high enough. What you're doing is you've got these attributes: agility, awareness, brawn, coordination, intelligence, personality, willpower, and each one is attached to a skill. You'll have a rank in the attribute, you'll have a rank of expertise in the skill. You add those together, and that's what your target number is. So if you've got, say, a 10 in agility and a 3 in acrobatics, then you would have a 13 target number. And when you roll those two dice, anything that rolls under a 13 is a success. It's a pretty neat little system. What focus is here, this other number in the middle, is kind of how you get critical hits. So let's say, and in this game, your expertise and your focus are always going to be the same. That's not true of every Modifius 2d20 game, but it's true of Conan. So if I've got a 3 expertise in acrobatics, I would also have a 3 focus. And so if I roll those two dice and one of them is like a 12, well, that's under 13, so it's a success. If one of them is a 2, that's underneath a 3, so it actually gives me 2 successes. So I just got 3 successes on 2 dice. Okay? That's in very broad terms how this works. And but there's a lot of extra things you can do with momentum and how you can alter this system a lot. And so I actually want to show you the sorcery system. Sorcery is not a huge part of the game, but it does exist. And it is a really nice way of showing off what this momentum system is capable of. Okay? So every skill has talents associated with it, and those talents come in trees. So when you get a talent, you could pick Patron, and then the next one you pick Sorcerer, and then the next one you could either pick Enduring or Pact, so on. Okay? Now with the sorcery stuff, you start gaining access to spells, and the spells in this game are fascinating because they're enormous. They're more like toolkits than like limited effects. So as an example, I want to show off this one, Commune with the Wild. Okay? And it has its little difficulty, it has the duration, it has the cost. Okay? This is how you do the spell. But then you've got all of this stuff. Okay? So if you want to spend 1 momentum while casting Commune with the Wild, you can do this red and tooth and claw thing. Change the animal summon to something more fearsome. In general, when you cast Commune with the Wild, you can summon like a wolf or a snake or something. But if you spend a momentum, then you can summon something much bigger. Make it a bear or a tiger, something like that. If you want to, you can choose to do this alternate effect down here, the Whispering Swarm, where instead of summoning 1 creature, you summon 2 packs of vermin. You get some rats or some bats or some cockroaches or something. If you really want to go bananas up here, let's see, there's one right here, Sanctity of the Pack. 1, and it's repeatable, which means you can spend multiple momentum on this. So if we already spent 1 momentum to turn this into a bear, and we have 2 more momentum, we can spend them both on Sanctity of the Pack and make this into 3 bears, because every extra momentum is going to add an extra animal. And so really what you're doing, these are all a bunch of options that you can modify that 1 spell. So Commune with the Wild is the summoning animals spell, but you can do a lot of extra neat stuff with it, like turning it into, for example, and they have samples. Following our sample uses of Commune with the Wild. So here's one called Eyes Above and Below, where you put together all these little pieces in your toolkit, and you come up with a spell that allows you to summon a huge swarm of vermin to go out and find a question for you. So in game terms, your little sorcerer would be like, well, I want to find this person that we're missing. So I'm going to summon every rat in the city, and I'm going to send them all out to search all through the houses for me and look for this person. And there's a lot of variability, and there's a lot of cool effects that you can do. And there's a ton of different spells. I'm showing Commune with the Wild because I love animal summoning spells, but there's a lot of different ones. There's Form of the Beast where you can actually turn into an animal. There's Fury of the Elements, which is kind of the using fireballs and sandstorms and things like that. So this gives you a sense of how momentum can be used to get extra effects. And I'm showing it off for the spells, but all of the skills and all of the talents, and even in combat, there's a lot of neat things you can do with the momentum system. When I first started playing around with Modifius games, I really didn't know if I liked momentum and Doom. Doom in particular bothered me because as a game master, if I want to add extra monsters to a fight, I just add extra monsters to a fight. Why do I need this currency to tell me, oh, you can't right now? And so what a friend of mine explained, and he'd been running a Conan campaign for a year or two. And what he explained to me was Doom works as well as it does because the players watch it build up, right? And there are things that they do that can add more Doom, or that they can try to reduce it. They can try to do all these things, and so as they watch the Doom build up and build up, then the players start to think, oh no, something big is going to come and some horrible thing is going to happen. The next fight we get into, there's going to be so many extra bad guys we're going to have to wade through, or just one big giant one. And so the ability to use Doom as a storytelling device rather than purely as a currency to purchase complications is what makes it really work. And so I encourage you, if you're a little nervous about the idea of these kind of storytelling currencies, give it a shot. Try it out and see, because the ability to watch that Doom stack up and then use it to say, okay, now there's this complication. And in part, this complication is caused by you because you did X or Y thing that added more Doom to the pool. You took this risk and it paid off, but here's the vicious, horrible consequence of it. So there's a little bit about the system. Now, when I talked about Infinity, which is also a 2d20 Modifius game, I showed you the life path system, and Conan uses a similar one. It's not identical, but it is so fun to use. I cannot stress how much I love making characters in the Conan system. And so I want to take a look over here. Let's go back to our website and flick over to this other window to the character generator. Okay? There are a lot of books in the line. I think I own Barbarian, Thief, Mercenary, and Skelos, which adds a bunch of extra magic stuff. But there are a ton of books in the line, and you can select and decide, well, which ones am I going to use? We're going to go ahead right now and say, just none. Core book, that's it. And then you roll or select a homeland. You don't have to spend life points in this one the way that you did in Infinity. And this gives you a chance to look at, and just kind of pick. I want to be from any of these places. If you're a Conan fan, then you'll already know what a lot of these places are like, right? Brithunia is kind of sort of England, but kind of sort of also Poland. Carinthia is kind of Greece after it had, fallen a bit from. It was no longer the center of culture in the world. Everyone else had caught up to it. It was still cool, but it wasn't really special anymore. Like, that's kind of sort of the vibe you get from Carinthia. Kitai is just straight up China. They've got a wall and everything. And so these are all in here. You can roll or you can select them. And the book has an extensive section talking about all of the different areas of the world. I'm not going to show you that right now, but I will show you the map. Inside of the front and back covers is this big map where it shows you where everything is in relation to everything else. It's really pretty, and you can find other ones online, but this one's right there in the book, and it's really pretty. So let's go back to our character creator, and I love doing random rolls, but I don't want to do a random roll this time because I want to be from Hyrcania. Hyrcania is kind of think of the ancient Scythians or Mongolians that were these huge forces of nomadic horsemen. We're going to make a Hyrcanian character, okay? And that gives us a talent. We're really good at riding on a horse and shooting a bow. And then attributes. Everything starts at 7. Remember I showed you the character sheet. There's these 7 attributes. They all start with 7 ranks. And then aspects I think is fascinating. And we'll look at selecting these. You pick 2, or you just roll 2 randomly. And these kind of tell you in broad overview what you're good at, what you're like in terms of your physical and mental capabilities. So maybe you are very charismatic and you're also wise and friendly. You're fast and fit and you're eagle-eyed. You're socially adept and strong and resolute. And so you just pick 2 of these. I want my Hyrcanian bowman to be brave, and I want to be eagle-eyed. Oh, you got to pick. Pick the first one, and then you pick the second one down here. Ding! And then that gives you one of these is your best, and one of these is your worst. Well, eagle-eyed and eagle-eyed, I must have totally chosen those wrong, huh? I can go back and fix that because the game is smarter than I am. Select aspects. I want to be brave, and I want to be eagle-eyed. Okay. Now, at any time we can check our character sheet and we can see that ranged weapons are a coordination skill. So I want to make sure my coordination is really good. So I'm going to make that my best. And then the worst attribute over here, I'm brave, but maybe I'm kind of foolhardy in addition. So I'm going to lower my willpower a little bit. Okay? And then I'm going to make my coordination even better. And I'm going to make my personality also better. Because I like to be able to talk to people. I want kind of a jovial joker character. Then there's castes that you can choose. What kind of background did you come from? Well, this Hyrcanian, we're going to say that he was a herder. And this is fun because it gives you a skill, 1 expertise and 1 focus, but then it is also going to give you access to a story. And this will give you some small benefit, but mostly it is just there for storytelling purposes. You can choose this. We're going to roll randomly. My guy, ooh, this wolf thing. Wolves were outside, and then my aunt was this wolf hunter, and we went into the woods, and some horrible thing happened. So I'm haunted by nightmares of whatever we did with the wolves and whatever dark monster we found that was behind the wolves, some kind of mega wolf or a werewolf or whatever it was. Now archetype. This is the thing that's closest to a class. Okay? And there are a handful in the main book. There are a ton once you start adding in extra books. If we had selected all on the source book section, there would just be a scandalous quantity of these. But we want to be an archer, right? For our Hyrcanian archer. That'll give us a good ranged weapon skill. It'll give us this talent with our bow. We have all of these things, which are all great. We want those. Animal handling, observation, stealth, survival. And then we can choose 2 more. I want to be good at acrobatics, because that's kind of this game's dodge skill, ranged defense skill. And just in case we get into melee, we'll make ourselves that. We can choose the kinds of weapons that we have. I already have a bow, and so I'm going to choose I'm riding a horse, so I will want a saber. And then I got a riding horse, and I've got some armor. Padded gambeson and trousers. This game does have location-based damage, which means it has location-based armor. So I can have one armor that covers torso, arms, and legs, or two armor that does not cover my arms, or three armor that only covers the torso. We're going to go with one armor in as many locations as we can. Nature is similar in some ways to the earlier attribute thing we were looking at. We are brave, foolhardy, and eagle-eyed. Well, we are also going to be one of these things, cautious or practical or scheming or sneaky or something like that. I actually really like the idea of being, like I said, I kind of wanted like a Joker kind of a guy. Jovial. We're going to pick supportive here. And this will give us an attribute bonus and then some extra skills. Okay? And it will also let us choose a talent. Now, if I really was trying to maximize this character, what I would have done is choose a nature that would have given me maybe a ranged weapon so that I could get another ranged weapon talent. But I like this idea. I like we want a well-rounded character. We'll give ourselves some extra animal handling, and discipline and resistance are more defensive skills. Discipline is like the willpower, how well can you not give in to something, and resistance is physical toughness, that you are not going to succumb to a poison. Since I want this guy to be a little foolhardy, we won't choose discipline, we'll choose resistance. And then we get a talent based on these skills that we have up there. Born in the Saddle seems like a great choice for this horse riding archer. Then there is education. Where was I educated? Was I raised in my family's footsteps? Did I have an elder mentor? Was my family largely absent and I had to raise myself? There's a lot of different things we can do. Here where it says career skill, that refers back to the main skill of the career, which in our case is ranged weapons because we're an archer. I really kind of enjoy the idea of being a traditional upbringing. I was one of the herders. I was born in this nomadic family, and I stayed with this nomadic family, and I loved them. Especially my aunt that helped me kill a werewolf that one time. So our animal handling is getting pretty impressive. We are great at riding horses. We are going to give ourselves a better observation, which is going to be useful, and parry is the defensive melee skill, so we'll go for that one. I could make myself better at riding horses. I could give myself this cool charge, but I don't know if that's going to be valuable for a ranger, an archer. There's a lot of different things down here. Faithful companion. We'll pick that one, and that will be my horse. So that just makes me better at managing my horse, and it makes my horse a little more useful to me. And there's a ton of different things. I could choose some more ranged weapon ones, but ooh, also I can get a cape. Fun. I can get a whole bunch of weapons, but I want that cape. Okay, now what event happened to me? Again, if we are using all the different source books, there are a ton of different options for this. So that if you're making a very specific thief character, then it's not a war story, it's a notable heist that you were involved with. And if you are a sorcerer, then there's some kind of sorcery story or magic story that you're involved with. For the core, it's just a war story, and we're going to, again, pick one at random. I gained the favor of a local noble. So this guy stuck with his family, did whatever. At some point, we got involved with a larger group, and local nobles like, hey, this kid knows what he's doing. And again, that gave me some nice social stuff, so that's good. Finally, we get to modify this. I have, what do we need to boost up? Coordination is doing great. We're great with ranged weapons. Our personality is okay. 9 plus 4, 13 for the average horse riding test. I don't know if we really need to boost any of this stuff. We're doing okay. Our brawn is pretty low, though. And our intelligence, we don't have a lot of intelligence skills. I kind of want to, I'm going to boost brawn a little bit. And I'm going to boost this one, agility. We're going to be a little more agile. So brawn goes up, and actually I want personality to go up. Keep our jovial dude, who's nice and jovial. I get 3 more skill points. I can spend in anything I want. We'll put one there in acrobatics. We'll put one here in athletics. And we'll put another one down here in observation, so we can see bad guys coming when we're out riding the range. And then I get to pick anything I want. Born Wild would let us survive well in the wilderness, but I am an archer, so we're going to take Marksman, which will let me get some extra momentum to get extra effects, extra dice, whatever. Makes me better at shooting. Okay. Then I can also get an extra skill. I speak Hyrcanian. I'm going to speak Aquilonian as well, just because it's a nice generic one. And then I have 3 fortune points, which fortune points will let you get rerolls. They'll let you do lots of neat things. They regenerate every session, so I get 3 points per session. I can permanently sacrifice some of those to boost these. Okay? Do I want to raise an attribute, or do I want to raise a skill? I can raise 1 attribute by 1, or I can raise 1 skill by 2. If I put it here into athletics, then all of a sudden that is 3 and 3. My crit range is greatly expanded. Or I could put it up here into coordination and just be way better at all the coordination stuff, which is what I'm going to do. And then I get some things. An ornate symbol of my father's faith, a light cloth covered by a tradesman's leather something. Where are you? Tradesman's leather apron. Okay. And a saber. The head or blade made of meteoric iron. And that's my character. I give him a name, choose a gender, describe him a little bit, and then I'm good to go. I will sit sometimes for hours while watching TV. I'm also making characters with this character creator because it is so fun to play with. The game is great. The characters are fun. There's a lot of options, and like I showed with the magic, there's a lot of really cool customization that you can do to the spells, to the skills, to the actions that you take using the momentum system and the different currencies that you have access to. So big props to these guys. They have designed a great Conan game that I really enjoy, and I think you should give it a try. And like I said, in honor of Robert E. Howard's birthday today, the entire line of books and PDFs is on sale if you go to their website. So, great game. Check it out. Thank you very much for watching the show, and I'll see you again tomorrow.